back to the 250s and the Supersports 250s and 400s. This class is about 250cc road-based bikes and 400cc road-based four-strokes. So in other words, so long as it's a street bike which is available for sale over the counter, the race is run on road tyres, it's run on unleaded fuel. It's a newly introduced formula to Supercup, and it makes for very close racing indeed, as the grid positions show. 40 riders then on the way down towards Redgate. The full race distance is 12 laps. That's 30 miles of the Donington GP circuit, and we'll be looking for some of the old faithful names, but number 5 there, young Jason Vincent, 19 years of age, from Earl Shilton in Leicestershire, hits the front with a bang from the word go. So we've said it before, Steve, this racing is always so close. Are getting away. In 3rd place, it's young Jason Vincent, number 5. In 4th place, it's the window fabricator from Stockport in Cheshire, Steve Ives, riding number 1. Then it's Kevin Maudsley, then it's Jim Moody, and number 49, Paul Brown. So young Paul Brown is out again. He rode in the 250 race, as in... Well, now I think what we're going to see is James Whittam, if he can hang on to the back of Steve Ives, tuck himself in. But up into 3rd place now has gone Kevin Maudsley, and Kevin Maudsley was one of the riders who was just a little bit suspicious about the makeup of that 400cc Yamaha that is out front of this race, to such an extent that the ACU, that's the governing body of the motorcycle sport in the UK, the ACU stripped and measured Steve Ives' Yamaha after Snetterton just to make sure that it was a bog standard road bike, because that is what the formula demands. It was indeed perfectly standard. It was just very... Well, 3rd place man Kevin Maudsley is some 2.5 seconds off this leading duo now, but he's looking for a better result here at Donington. He was motoring well at Snetterton and then had all sorts of problems. The engine blew, he went off, crashed the bike, so not a very happy man at all was Kevin Maudsley. But certainly 3rd place will be good enough here for him.
Jamie Whittam takes the fastest lap. Paul Brown, number 49, Paul Brown, now up to 4th place. So that man that's got an injured shoulder, he's going really well.
Lying 3rd in the championship too, Paul Brown. So this youngster, who is the protege of the former Grand Prix star, the man we shall be seeing in the 7th train of activity behind Paul Brown. It's Kevin Maudsley, Jim Moody, Jason Vincent, then it's McWilliams, then it's young Jeffries. They're all in there, and Paul Brown is leading the charge.
Yeah, having recently switched from a Kawasaki to Suzuki, this is the first time I believe he's raced the 250 Suzuki here today, and it certainly seems to be suiting him pretty well, because he's charged through that pack. There we have number 49, Paul Brown, who has a suspected damaged collarbone.
To such an extent that he didn't go out in the 2nd practice session. The times that he used to get on the grid were the times he gained from the 1st time session. He fell halfway through the 1st time session, didn't make the 2nd session. We didn't know if he'd make the line, but not only did he make the line, he's making 3rd place at the moment. So that's a testimony to the stamina and the grit and determination of this 22-year-old from Humberside. Paul Brown then has got a lot of activity going on behind him, and squeezing out and going past, that's Kevin Maudsley. So Maudsley has reclaimed 3rd place. Kevin Maudsley then up to 3rd.
Well, I'm not sure whether Paul Brown had a problem there with his shoulder, or whether he missed a gear. I think he possibly went into the chicane there in 3rd gear instead of 2nd gear. As he turned on the power, it wasn't there because he was in the wrong gear. But a very easy mistake, and if it's a new machine that he's riding, that would be possibly the reason there that he got it mixed up.
Well, Maudsley on an RGV 250 Suzuki again. The Team Hayes bike is up into 3rd place, having gone back past Paul Brown. So Brown then down into 4th. Maudsley from Blackpool in Lancashire.
A bit disappointing for Paul Brown after he worked his way through to the front of that pack, and now he's dropped back again. So with any kind of luck, he'll be able to grab that 3rd spot again.
Laps then for Steve Ives to do, but Kevin Maudsley still there, dragging out from Paul Brown. Maudsley is the man who won the 1991 Spring Cup Supersport 400 series, so he won a championship very early in the year. He obviously has taken to this class like a duck to water. Just look at the little Suzuki juddering around there. And there's Jim Moody, number 15, the very distinctive livery of Jim Moody. Whittam has turned in a quick one. and he's doing his best now to get past that Yamaha Steve Ives. But Ives really a force to be reckoned with. Jim Moody is on another FZR 400 Yamaha, so there are at least 2 of these 400cc four-strokes in the top 6. And Steve, it wasn't generally accepted that they'd be competitive.
No, the FZR 400 Yamaha has been extremely competitive on road circuits, especially in the Isle of Man TT last year, but I don't think anyone really expected it to be quite as competitive as it's turned out, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more 400 Yamahas in this form and racing in the future.
Well, in motorcycle racing, and it's said to me many, many times, reliability doesn't even seem to be a feature. They just keep on going, whether they're 2 strokes, 4 strokes or whatever. We see very few breakdowns, but as you see, there are 1 or 2 fellas step off them from time to time, but as far as the mechanics and the workings of the bike, everything seems to hold together very well. This is the battle for 3rd, 4th. There's Paul Brown in 4th place. And 5th. Jim Moody is in 5th and pushing hard. So a very tough Scot, Jim Moody, has got young Paul Brown, a rider with much less experience, in front of him. And I suspect that Jim Moody might be able to relegate the youngster, bearing in mind too that he does have a painful shoulder. Yeah,
and he is on the what looks to be the faster machine at the moment, so there's a good chance that when we get round to the straight here, we'll see Moody make a move. Well,
Jim Moody, sponsored by Howard Cross Motorcycles, and a tumble there. That we'll give you that number just as soon as we can. The rider heavily in the gravel trap, but he's okay. The marshal helping him to his feet. I'll give you the update on that fallen rider just as soon as I can. It certainly wasn't one of our front runners. It was Kevin Maudsley. It was Kevin Maudsley. The 3rd place man, Kevin Maudsley, has dumped it in the gravel, but as you can see, he's on his feet. He's upset about it because he was in a good place. But Maudsley okay, but that opens up the race now for further down the order. That means Brown, Moody, Vincent, McWilliams all move up one. This, however, the battle for 1st and 2nd. And Steve, it's a pity we didn't see what happened there to Kevin Maudsley.
Yeah, it is a shame what happened. I think it was as he was entering the corner, he was probably just trying to grab back some of this advantage that these two have. 4 laps to go, he probably thought he needed to get a spurt on, but it's ended in tears, unfortunately.
Well, bad news from the Blackpool Flyer there. Nicknamed, incidentally, the Angry Gerbil. Well, I bet he's very angry at the moment with that one because he was on for 15 points and it's all come to nothing. He's going to have to wait now till Brands Hatch before he can nail his place onto the leaderboard. So nothing from Snetterton and nothing from Donington, very sadly, for Ken Maudsley. But Steve Ives about to repeat, or certainly fully intends to repeat, his Snetterton success with a storming win here at Donington. But James Whittam, I've never seen the lad ride as well as he is at the moment. He really has clicked with this RGV Team Grant Suzuki, and it could go to Jamie at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, I think Jamie's not finished yet. He's having a look on the inside here. I don't think he can do it there, but I think he's sitting pretty comfortably. He doesn't really have the speed, but he does have the braking ability and the riding ability, so it's going to be a tussle, and again, I think we'll be down to those S's on the last lap is where we'll see it done.
We'll just watch this on the brakes now, as they both sit up. Jamie Whittam is on the outside, but he demonstrated to Steve Ives there, who's just nipped round at a colossal 84.34 miles an hour from a production road bike. That is incredible, and James Whittam now has just demonstrated that he can creep up on the brakes anytime, and the Huddersfield Flyer has just about got enough gall, I think, to stick it up the inside when it really matters, maybe going into the last 1 or 2 turns. Whether in fact that proves to be the case, we shall have to wait and see, but at the point where the 1-2-5 race all fell apart, they sweep round again onto the start-finish line, head down for Steve Ives, tail up for Jamie Whittam, down towards Redgate, moving out of the slipstream on the RGV 250 Suzuki, flicks it down. The sun now is beating down here at Donington Park and has turned what was a suspect sort of prospect from the weather point of view into a super day, and the crowd, sleeves rolled up. It really is a beautiful summer's day.
Whittam using all his experience now to give Steve Ives a hard time. He's showing him his front wheel on the left and on the right and up the inside and around the outside. So he's really just trying to pressure Steve Ives, I think, into a bit of a mistake. But I've got a suspicious feeling that Jamie Whittam isn't finished yet in this race.
Well, Steve Ives then hard down on the tarmac. He's really having to ride his socks off to stay ahead of Jamie Whittam. So the Yamaha 4-stroke, I remind you, versus the Suzuki 2-stroke. One is a 400cc, one is a 250cc, and the only place we can tell the difference is when they get onto the main straight, the fastest part of the circuit, and they are on it now. But as I speak, out of the slipstream comes Jamie Whittam, and he's on the overtaking line, and this could be it, but no. Across the front wheel goes Steve Ives, chops the nose off the Suzuki, but watch it again, Whittam's not done, he'll fight back. And we still have, after this, another lap, 2 laps, I beg your pardon, of the Donington circuit to do, so it's still wide open.
Jamie Whittam will have had his race team talk by mentor Mick Grant before this, and I can well imagine he said, hang back till the end, lad, and that looks as though it's Jamie Whittam's doing. But having said that, 25-year-old Steve Ives, such a mature rider, looking so safe, so under control. Who knows, maybe Steve Ives has something left. I don't think we're going to know till that flag comes down.
Sits up, riding well, Ives. Jamie Whittam, who's seen the ups and downs of motorcycle racing, quite literally, in fact, and has a very mature head on his shoulders, as Steve Parrish quite rightly said, is certainly pressing Steve Ives now. And these two are now 14.2 seconds away from the 3rd and 4th place men, and Moody has now gone past young Jason Vincent. Moody is up into 4th place. All he's got to do is wheel in Paul Brown, and I think the question mark now is whether Brown's fitness can stand the pace. But at the front, a magnificent battle. And it's just a feeling, just a feeling in the back of my mind that Jamie Whittam is pacing himself this one. I don't know. Steve, I might be wrong, but it certainly looks as though he's got something up his sleeve.
Yes, he does, and Steve Ives took a quick look over his shoulder. He knows that Whittam's there, and Whittam's taking the outside line, but I think it'll be done on the last lap. Whittam's just weighing things up.
Well, down in 6th place, Jeremy McWilliams on the Queen's University Belfast bike is forcing on well, but it's nothing compared to what's happening here. This is going to go all the way down to the wire. 1 lap to go when they come past the start-finish area this time. They're sprinting up the hill now towards Goddard's, which is a very tricky off-camber left-hander. And Steve Ives doesn't want to push the front end of those road tyres out too much, because he might just drop the Yamaha in a big way. With 1 lap to go now, over the line they go. Jamie Whittam tucked in the slipstream, and if he's going to do it, he'll do it this lap.
Yep, here we go. Now this is where we get rid of all the bluffing, because every one of these guys we're looking at here wants to win this race. So Whittam will be trying. He'll be trying to get in the slipstream of Steve Ives. If he's going to do it, it'll be done on the brakes. And I think it would possibly be at the S's, but I might be wrong.
What's going through James's head now?
Not to make any mistakes, because he's be thinking, well, I'm going to look rather silly if I just make a big mistake here. As happened earlier in the 1-2-5 race, he'll be keen to either finish. Now, this is a problem. The yellow flags are out. Now, you're not allowed to pass under yellow flags, so that's taken one opportunity away from him, because he can't pass on that corner. Whilst the yellow flag is being waved, it's impossible to overtake, or you're excluded.
Well, let's hope then that yellow flags are now out. We need to be, or rather we need to be seeing some green flag to let Jamie Whittam know that he can wind the Suzuki up and get it past, but he's right in the slipstream. Now he's going to have a go for it. He moves out, and he's alongside, and that was on sheer speed. But look at Steve Ives, and Ives is on the inside line. James is there, though, across the front. A magnificent move for Jamie Whittam, and he's just shown his back end to Steve Ives, who's fighting back down towards the Melbourne hairpin, and he's on the inside. Steve Ives has not given up yet. Just look at that on the brakes. It's Whittam, Ives. One of them surely has to give here, but no, it's James on the power. Up towards the climb, the left-hander of Goddard's, and look over the shoulder, and he's dropping Steve Ives away. The Team Grant RGV 215 Suzuki is going to pull this one off. Look at Steve Ives. He's going to have to settle for 17 points here in the sprint to the line. Jamie Whittam gets it from Steve Ives. A beautifully calculated and judged race.
Yeah, and Steve Ives rode a great race, but he was taught a lesson by after there, Jamie Whittam, because he just did him where he needed to.
There it is then. There's your race winner. A magnificent 400 Supersports victory for James Whittam, and I think he will have had no greater satisfaction from any of his wins. Confirmation then of the top 6. Jamie Whittam, you saw it for yourself. What a great ride from Steve Ives. Young Paul Brown held off the attentions of Jim Moody. Jason Vincent and McWilliams from Ulster brought a Suzuki.